All right, www.powerfulradiofm.com. You know what time it is. You're listening to the Ken Davis Radio Show. And today, I want to say I'm proud. I got a very special guest on the line today. Very talented, very creative. The lovely Miss Janelle Monae. How you doing, Janelle?
I'm doing well, sweetheart.
That's good. That's good. Now, for a lot of people who maybe haven't heard of you, um, could you kind of give a little bit of background information?
Well, I'm an artist, a living art, and I guess some of you may have been familiar with me. I started out here in Atlanta, Georgia, becoming an independent artist in the AUC. That consists of Clark University, Spelman College, Morehouse College, Morris Brown, and I would just perform, do dorm lounge tours around there, and I was blessed and fortunate enough to build a very strong support system with my peers, college students. And so I released the Audition, an independent project, and that led me to meeting Big Boy of Outkast here in Atlanta, Georgia, at Justin's, Sean Combs' restaurant. I was singing, I think they had like an open mic night, and, Big Boy, really liked what he had, what he had heard, and we started to work together. And then I got on the Outkast Idlewild album. He and Dre had asked me to be involved with that, and I did the compilation CD for Letting Go first, and then that's when I did the Idlewild for Call the Law.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and right now I'm here. I have my own recording label now, the Wonderland Art Society, and we just did a partnership with Sean Combs' label, Bad Boy and Atlantic Records.
You actually sold 10,000 copies independently? Is that true?
I don't remember the number, but yeah, I do know it's probably a little over that now. But that's neither here nor there.
Right. Well, that's great, for independent artists. One of the questions I'm sorry. One of the questions I really wanted to know, like, I've seen, like, your performances live, on YouTube and things like that, and you, like, have so much energy, and it's crazy, like, not too many artists in the game, are coming out like the way you're coming out. Like, where is that coming from? Like, is that just from your background, how you were raised?
Well, a lot of it has to do with just being fearless and understanding that as an artist, I'm free to express myself creatively, whatever way that I see that's fit. For me, I don't really choreograph anything I do on stage. I don't have a choreographer, and I look up to James Brown, and I'm sure he didn't have one either. And so, it's just really leaving it all on the stage and creating art, right before the audience's eyes.
Right.
I guess it could have had something to do with my upbringing. All my aunties are very funky, it's just all about being fearless and having a new approach to the way that you see life and the way you see art.
Okay. Now, also, I seen that you're like young, right? You're like 16. Is that true? I'm not sure what age you are, but I wanted to just get the facts,
I'm 23 years old, and that's hilarious.
Really? Okay. See, that's why I wanted to clarify that up right now.
I'll take 16 is a great age.
Right. Wouldn't we all? Okay. So, you say you're the EP, right? It's an EP coming out on August the 12th. Is that the date?
Yes, August 12th, and I like to call it a suite, however.
A suite? Okay.
Instead of an EP, but, sure. Well, the concept came from me visiting the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, and, when you go and see the orchestra, they have things broken up into different concertos, and, they'll play, maybe 3 concertos at a time, and then, we clap and go to intermission, and they'll come back and play the next suite of concertos. And so it just derived from that, and it's kind of like putting the listener on a musical diet. Hopefully they anticipate the next installment and what's gonna come next, versus overwhelming them or bombarding the listener with so much music that they really can't get into the jam.
Right.
And conceptually, this is a huge conceptual album, and there's lots of life-changing stories. At least they're life-changing for me. And so I wanted to make sure that my listeners and my supporters were able to follow along without, feeling so confused and so overloaded and overwhelmed with so much music that they don't get a chance to get into the liner notes and the story, and they lose the jam. So I just decided that 4 to 5 or maybe 5 or 6 tunes on a disc would be cool
right.
For the listeners, and hopefully they'll be looking forward to the next installment.
Okay. Now I seen one of your performances on YouTube. I did my research. I like to do a little bit of research. It was for TBS, and like the first thing that came to my mind when I seen you performing was like Andre, Hey Ya, from would you say they're one of like your influence, Outkast?
Yeah, Outkast. Before I had even met them, of course, were my mentors and inspirations musically. Those guys helped open up the door and make room for someone like myself. Now that I think that took those risks musically and are continuing to evolve. I think Andre 3000 and Big Boy are great artists, fantastic guys too, great senses of humor, and and they really support what it is that I'm doing. So with that said, I don't think that there'll ever be another Andre 3000. He's good at what he does, and I'm just a girl named Janelle Monae, and I'm trying to be the best Janelle Monae that I can be.
Okay. I definitely understand that. So, like, when you go into the studio, just give me an idea, like, where does the inspiration come from, creatism, because it's amazing. Like, I'm very supportive of you, like, once I've been hearing your name and seeing your songs and videos, I'm like, that's great. We need that in hip-hop. It's a fresh breath of air, and when I say fresh, I definitely mean fresh,
Thank you.
Definitely, no doubt, seriously. So, I mean, like, what is it, where does that come from,
Well, it just has to do with me understanding myself and really stepping outside of just knowing that I'm from Kansas and not thinking so small-minded when I approach music.
Right. Okay.
And, just trying out new concepts and ideas, throwing up so many paints and colors on the canvas and seeing what comes out of it. And you never know. And it also helps when you're around good creative people like, Nate Rocket Wonder and Chuck Lightning of Wonderland. We all create art together. And so when I'm around those guys, they're always, encouraging me to be the best artist that I can be and to just go for it. And I can make mistakes around them, and I feel, and that helps. That helps to be able to make lots of mistakes, because I don't think you'll ever get anywhere without failing at some point, and just and being unafraid to fail,
Right.
And so that's where it comes from, and girls like myself, like the girls in Darfur who don't have a voice, and so it's up to me to exercise my right of being free and not just being different for the sake of being different, but making sure that I'm helping erase those boundaries and those lines and those divisions that have been created by people in this music industry. I'm not a fan of categories or labels. I want to help erase all those boundaries that we have. So that's just what it stems for, is just my passion to help redefine what music coming from an African-American girl can sound like.
Okay. And you also brought up a good point. You were talking about Nate. Those guys are part of your production team. Am I right?
Sure. Yeah. Nate Rocket Wonder produced all the music that you've heard from me thus far.
Okay. And how'd you guys link up together?
Morehouse College. I was performing. I was like one of the only girls that would go to Morehouse and like really perform, and so I had a really strong support base at Morehouse, and I was doing a show there during intermission, and I believe they had heard me, and afterwards we met one another, and we just really clicked. It was kind of like a Matrix moment, we looked at each other, and, like I was Neo, and I looked at them like, okay, we're on the same team, we have a mission to accomplish. And it was really simple as that. Like, it was nothing but, God that hooked us up together, and ever since then, we've always realized that it's our goal as Thrivals, and a Thrival is just someone who basically takes advantage